Hi folks, I thought I'd go ahead and respond to Vinylover95's thread, the latest one. So let's get to it. Name some of your favorite records from your M section, and it can only be some because the M section is pretty big and you'll be here all day. So the ones that I chose to show today are Magazine, Secondhand Daylight. This is a masterpiece of post-punk rock music coming out of England. Everyone, including Radiohead and just everyone, not like Radiohead is any sort of big deal, except everyone knows who they are. But this band, this album, it's a concept album, but not. It's not a concept album, but it's so good, and it's such a complete picture, and it's such a new picture when it appeared musically that it's like a blueprint for where to go musically with rock and imagination. This album is, I think, fantastic, song after song, and it ends with just permafrost. Must hear. Magazine. Another one of my favorite M artists is Wes Montgomery. The way that the man plays guitar, it's like the sun shining. Again, the music just flows out of his hands, and his phrasing and his sense of melody, as well as his chording, is beautiful. I don't even know the correct term for the chords. To me, have always been magical since childhood. To me, when I'd hear Wes Montgomery's guitar, it would just immediately make me feel better. And there's something very warm about the tone. The humanity of this person just comes through every time he plays the guitar. I love pretty much everything he does, but this trio record here, the players with him on this album aren't anything notable, any big names, but they play like a hand in glove on this album. This happens to be, I'm not sure how I found this, but I've had this for many, many years. It's a Japanese import on Riverside. And so it's a really fine pressing, but I could go on for a while about the magic of Wes Montgomery's guitar playing. We lost him much too soon. So that's definitely one of my favorite M's, Wes Montgomery. Another M that I had to bring out and show another one is My Bloody Valentine. Of course, this band gets plenty of props in the community. They get talked about, but not for any small reason. And they definitely, when I heard My Bloody Valentine, hit me like a ton of bricks. Feed Me With Your Kiss, I believe, was the first thing I heard by them when it came out as a single. And it was just a head cruncher. It was like, what's going on here? You know, this is something I got to know more about. This is an original in creation. I've had this for years. Happy to say, yeah, there it is. You know, My Bloody Valentine started out pretty ordinary. I had that very first record. Can't remember the name of it. I got rid of it. I know it's very collectible now, but it was like, ew, you know, compared to the other stuff, it was okay. Compared to the other stuff, I was like, I wasn't keeping it. Another very important band and musician is Matching Mole, Robert Wyatt. When he brought this, I bought this when it came out. This is my second copy. I was lucky to be able to replace my first copy because I bought it as a teenager and just wore it out because I was so excited. I wanted everyone that I knew to know about it. Most people didn't get it, and just really many of my friends thought this sucked when I turned them onto it. But I recognized I heard it, you know, and then the subtle way that Eno and Robert Fripp, it's produced by Robert Fripp, but the subtle way that Eno is used, but the songwriting compared to the first Matching Mole, because the first Matching Mole record was kind of Robert Wyatt being depressed over breaking up with Carolyn, and it's just all through that record. This one is really the band doing something as a band, and very dynamic, very creative, very pushing forward, also very irreverent and adult. I could go on about Matching Mole, about the importance of Robert Wyatt the importance of the Canterbury School of Musicians. I know that they have shaped a big part of how I see music through being exposed to Soft Machine early on as a teenager, and that Mike Ratledge doing the Terry Riley thing, making that connection. It was revelatory. Another M that really looms large in my life is Magma. And this is a band that, when I was first told about them by my friend Wes, it's like, you got to get into Magma, you got to hear them. I was intrigued, but frankly, when I first heard them years and years ago in the 70s, when I first heard this band, the music was so powerful and dark, and I was still struggling with my good versus evil stuff. This music sounded really just purely evil. It scared me, and it took me a long time to adjust to the power of the music and being able to recognize the power, this dark power, and seeing its connection to God. To me, it seems like just makes sense that it all is part of a continuum, that darkness is not of God. It's all the same package, and this is part of the continuum. And Magma is one of the greatest bands to ever come from France, much less anywhere else. Christian Vander, as a drummer and a writer, is on a par with all of the greats of the world. It is not easy music to listen to. It can be frightening too, depending on your orientation. But it's well worth it. It's one of my favorites. A couple more M's. I don't know if he didn't say a number, so I'm going to just do a couple more. Mythos. People have been picking up, as I did, the reissue of their first album. This is their second album, Dream Lab. I believe it's Vinyl Disorder who said he preferred this. Well, yeah, this is a better realized album than the first one. It is. This is even more sophisticated than the first Mythos. Now, I've got a nostalgic preference for the first album. A lot to do with how I heard it, its significance to to my youth, and some really important LSD experiences that music was the soundtrack for. But Dream Lab, if you can find this is, as they say, and I'm using this as a quote, krautrock, space rock at its finest. This is just a wonderful album. Another M that I want to show is the Muffins, and these guys have been called the American Henry Cow. It's a good description. There are vocals, but this band, let's see, is this late 70s, 80s? This is 78. Billy Swan, Tom Scott, Dave Newhouse. You won't recognize the names unless... But anyway, real fine players. They could probably play anything, probably classically trained and can read. Very inventive, highly arranged, very, very similar to the approach that Henry Cow and Art Bear took to music. This is fantastic. Fantastic music. Yeah, I'm going to keep going. Moondog. Moondog was a character, but he was a composer, primarily of percussion-based pieces. He was known for standing on a particular corner in New York for years with this and various other Viking-type outfits. But and he's blind. He was blind, rather. He's deceased. So, but he was a composer, and this is some very singular music. Maybe Harry Parch is someone working in the same area, perhaps. Is it Cornelius Cardew, no. Henry Cowell, not Cowell, not Cow, but Cowell, the composer, perhaps. There's some similarity there. Okay, I'm just about done here. 2 more, then I'll go to the other questions. Mascalero, this is I wanted to show another ECM. There's so much ECM. Mascalero was a band that included the trumpeter Nils Peter Molvar. I believe he's Norwegian. That was my introduction to him, and I love his style and his playing. And this is just a really wonderful, sleek album. It's not slick, it's sleek. They just, the way that they put this sound together and the music, they play so well together. And the rhythm section is the classic ECM rhythm section of Harold Anderson on bass and John Christensen drums. You know, it's not just typical at all. And the last M I want to show is an obscure band from Italy called Minox, and the album is called Lazare. I can't remember how I got turned on to this album, but this is sublime. Somewhere between smoky jazz, getting into a prog, but more ambient kind of prog, but still with this jazzy late night feel. And oh man, this is, if you can find this, and I think, you know, again, all the records I show, like any record, mostly, if you look hard enough, you can find them. This is just a beautiful, beautiful record. Let me see what year. This is in the 80s, I think. You know, as I'm trying to describe this music, I'm trying to think, is there any band that I can compare this to? And nothing's coming to mind yet. I'm looking for a year. 19. Don't see a year. I'm thinking this is early 80s, so early 80s. It starts off with a really, really smooth, neat, not smooth, slick, but fat, thick, ambient, smoky groove with this almost Chet Baker-like trumpet. Okay, I'm trying to describe it because this is really good, and I really, really highly recommend you look for it. Okay, so those are the M's that I chose to show today. The question number 2 is, what do you do while listening to music? And what I like to try to do alternately, besides multitasking like most of us do. I'm sure that most of us multitask when we listen to music. We're on the computer, maybe we're looking at our mail, maybe we're getting home from work and going through our getting from home from work ritual, eating, reading, surfing the net, writing, blogging. I like it when I have the time and I'm in the mood to just sit and listen. And the sad thing is that there are many times when I'll do that I'll sit, and that's when I get some rest. I get a nap, you know what I'm saying? You fall asleep depending on what you're playing. So, you know, it's almost the modern way of listening to music is to do it as a soundtrack to your life. And my work as a social worker, I do a lot of driving, and so there I do a lot of listening as while I'm driving, and when I'm charting, or when I'm documenting on the computer, as much as I can, I try to listen. So that's the truth of that. And let's see, the last one is a record you've often seen and ignored, but finally bought out of curiosity. And the one that I chose to show, because I looked and there weren't that many that I could find that I've kept, because I've done that, and the ones that I didn't like I got rid of. But this is one that I haven't gotten rid of yet, but used to see this cover all the time. It's damaged there. That white spot is from the sticker. Head, Hands, and Feet. This goes back to early 70s, and I always liked the simplicity of this cover. But when I look at the back, I knew by looking at the back, this isn't what I'm looking for. But I'd go back to the cover and I'd say, man, that's a good cover. It's simple. but I like it. But I knew this was not what I wished it would be. And it's not. It's kind of that blues-based sort of rockin', which is fine, you know. But it's like, it's just not what I'm looking for. And so I've hung on to this, and consequently Jeff Record Man gave me another Head, Hands, and Feet. So I'm keeping them. Now, the other one he gave me, I found a song on it that I like, you know. On this one, I have not found a song that I like. Probably will play it again now that I'm talking about it, to be fair. This stuff just is really kind of just, it just like, it goes like this. Here it comes, and then it's just, you know, it's just ordinary. It just sounds so ordinary. And it's like, I've just heard so much of it, you know, and I think that's what it is. I've just listened to so much music that a lot of this just plain rock just sounds like plain rock, you know. But I'll give it another listen, and frankly, if I find that it, you know, makes me eat my words, which I wish it would. I wish I put it on. I hope I can put it on and it'll blow my mind. I would love for that to happen, so I'll report in, okay, guys? That's the answer to Vinyl Lover 95's thread.